A new version of the Holy Knight's treasure is coming to the game in January, and I actually can't believe that they're taking the concealed dagger and also the greatest glory from the season of conquest and making it available in Holy Knight's treasure. Stick around in this video for all of the implications and everything we can figure out about this pretty significant change and what the implications are for equipment moving forward. Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and in this video we're talking about this little notice that went into the board earlier today, and I got a message. Actually, it might have been it's 21st. Yeah, it's earlier today. I got a message from like Ruz really early in the morning. He was like, "My guy, you got to make a video on this right away." And I woke up, and cleared the fog out of my eyes, and I was reading this, and I said, "Holy moly, we're planning to take the greatest glory and concealed dagger, legendary accessory blueprints into the Holy Knight's treasure event in the latter half of January next year." Which, I don't know why they needed to say next year. I mean, January, what, 2 years from now? But okay, next year, which will be selectable as core rewards. These accessories will become usable prior to the commencement of the season of conquest. So two really big things here. And let me just keep reading, okay? We will also be running a new Holy Knight's treasure event, during which governors will have the option of selecting the two accessory blueprints for the core rewards. Please see the relevant in-game panels to view the most up-to-date information and event and any limitations on the use of equipment. Nice disclaimer, the legalese, not even in like a smaller font. Thank you for supporting Rising Kingdoms. We hope you enjoy the game. So, three big things here. First of all, these accessories will become usable prior to the season of conquest. That actually is maybe the biggest and most significant part of this change, which is that people who migrate back now have a lot of firepower that they still can use, but also important because newer players into the game can start to accumulate some of these very, very powerful items early on if you have the gems. Which brings me to the second part. They're changing the reward structure for Holy Knight's treasure, and should you get these from the Holy Knight's treasure. And third of all, I mean, it sounds like there's a new Holy Knight's treasure event. So how does that work? So I think the first thing I want to talk about is just big picture. What is the significance of things that were exclusive to the Season of Conquest shop now being available out of the Season of Conquest? The concealed dagger, which is very good. This is probably the first accessory I would have said you should go get if you're an open fielder. The concealed dagger is stacking a health reduction onto the target. 30% chance to reduce the health by 5% is a big deal, stacking up to a grand total of 15%. It's freaking savage. And the greatest glory is something that's maybe less used and less relevant, and it makes it so that your normal attack damage is boosted. Now, this means your white damage to a target that you're hitting is boosted by 5%, and when targets hit you, that damage that you deal back in a reactive way where you don't have to do anything, it's just, you know, the white numbers you're dealing to all those targets, that's also boosted, okay, by 5% here. And that's maybe an oversimplification of exactly how that works, but you kind of get the idea. Most people, in fact, go for this other item, the Vengeance, if what they care about is counterattack damage. In fact, I made a detailed video with the exact math proving that, like, it only takes, like, I don't know, it was like 2 or 3 people swarming you. And at that point, Vengeance is just way better than Greatest Glory. So Greatest Glory is an item you use if you think most of the time you're not getting swarmed, you're hitting something that's hitting you back, and sometimes you get a bunch of extra value if something else comes in and hits you. Otherwise, if you knew you were going to get swarmed, you just use the Vengeance, because that just gives you more damage overall. But this dagger is kind of a big deal, right? So should you be getting these patterns anymore in the Season of Conquest? And I would say, if you want to save your season coins, and most people probably do, because there are still a bunch of things in here you could get instead, if you have the gems, you could use those gems to instead, from the new Holy Knight's treasure, get the dagger, and honestly, I think that's a really good pickup. This legendary accessory is a very big deal for your open field capability, and as far as legendary accessories go before Season of Conquest, this is definitely the best you can do. I can't think of anything better. The Skolas' Lucky Coin is good if you're getting swarmed and you want to reduce the damage you take, but it's too reactive to the enemy hitting you. They have to do something, and you can't control if they do it. Whereas, Dagger Man's really, really, really good, especially, if you care about Ark of Osiris and you're swarming a structure, which is very common. Yes, I think that the Dagger is a very, very strong pickup. Get it earlier than the Season of Conquest if you can. Very worth it if you have the gems. And that's a big if, because people like to use their gems in the early game on commanders, and that's also very understandable. So what's the other situation where these items being available in a Holy Knight's Treasure is important? And it's not just people who want to get these items earlier or in some other way, but it's also people who want to get enough of it to try to talent it. Now, that sounds like a crazy whale problem, doesn't it? Who in their right mind is talenting the Concealed Dagger or the Greatest Glory by getting the pattern multiple times and refining? And it's a lot of freaking materials, man. To go and make one of these legendaries is 120 legendary materials, so 60 legendary materials per refine is very, very, very expensive. In fact, there's two problems with this. First of all, if you go for the Concealed Dagger, there's a problem, because a talented Concealed Dagger overwrites and does not stack with a non-talented dagger. So if you have one that's talented and you're starting to get stacks on there from some other player that's not talented, if I'm not mistaken, the talented Concealed Dagger will wipe away what the other player did and instead apply your stronger 6.5% health debuff, which is really weird. So there's some weirdness to how that stacks, where I'm not saying a talented dagger is bad, but I am saying that, I don't know if I would go out of my way to get it necessarily because of the weirdness of how it stacks. I mean, I guess it's still really quite strong, but I don't know. There's weirdness there. And then Greatest Glory is actually, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. Wouldn't that be 6.5% normal attack damage? That starts to get pretty good compared to the Vengeance. But again, we're talking about, what would you expect to spend? Another 120 to 240 legendary materials refining? That's insane. That's straight insane. Nobody has the materials for that. In fact, if we just get a look at the number of patterns that I have accumulated here, I got 7 of these. I got 3 of these, 3 of these, 3 of these, 3 coins, 2 helms over here for infantry, 2 Shadow Legion's Retribution, 2 Hope Cloaks, apparently. Didn't even know I had those. Shield of the Eternal Empire, Commander Boots. I have so many patterns that I don't have the materials to go and make. I get that I could make 1 or 2 of these things right now, okay? But I have way, 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 way more patterns than I have the materials to go and make stuff. So the idea that you're going to go spend gems to try to get one of these accessories talented feels like a super whale investment. So I think the biggest winner from this change is the people who would want to make the dagger before even entering Season of Conquest. That is, in my eyes, the biggest winner. But when you get to the Season of Conquest, now, what are the things that you get from the shop? And, my estimation here is that if you've already got a dagger from outside of Season of Conquest, or you plan to get it from outside of Season of Conquest, the number one thing to go get for open fielders is definitely the web. And if you're picking up dagger first, you're an open fielder, by the way. If you were a garrison captain or rally lead, you'd want to get ring horn, in my opinion. Those are the first 2 things you'd want to get. So if you're open fielding, you get your dagger somewhere else. Web is your next pickup here for sure. Web is reducing the march speed of cavalry, but more important, there's a stacking defense reduction. A grand total of up to 12% defense reduction when it's capped out is really quite strong. And we did some math on this a while ago, and having 1 web and dagger is better than having 2 daggers in terms of the amount of damage that you are sort of making the enemy take. That we found to be true. So again, having the 2 different accessories was better than 2 daggers, even though a health debuff is stronger, and even though the amount of the debuff is bigger on the Concealed Dagger by 1%. So the number one thing you'd get will be web. Then I think ring is really, really good damage. And if you have a utility commander like a Guan or a Trajan, and you really want to accelerate the speed with which they apply the debuffs, then I think horn is really important for changing the way a combat potentially unfolds. And by the way, I talked about that a lot in a video about how the silences work on Guan. I'll have a card up in the top if you want to go check that out. So unless materials become more available, I think for the players that are in the early game, especially whales, it's going to be really cool to have access to the dagger sooner. They should go make it. And they also should make Greatest Glory, because compared to all your other accessory options, I mean, these two are way, way better. Can you imagine entering KVK Season 2 and you're battling against someone who has Dagger and Greatest Glory in their garrison, and you've got, like, epic accessories? You've got, I mean, in fairness, a talented Silent Trial is really good, but, like, you've got your talented Silent Trial and you've got your, talented Delanes, and it's like, man, the Delanes is not even, like, it's half as good as a Greatest Glory, except it's more defensive, right? Like, how are you supposed to hang? How are you supposed to hang? I guess, oh, nope. Coin is exclusive to Season of Conquest, too. And I mean, these accessories, Seth's Call and Karok's War Drums, the other accessories you got access to in the early game, like, those are open field accessories. So is Dagger, but Dagger's so good you'd use it in the garrison for sure, or you use it in a rally for sure. In pre-Season of Conquest, 100%. 100%. And in that context, like, yeah, if it's talented, it's really quite strong. So I'm surprised to see this change in some ways, but in other ways, I feel like we should come to expect that over time, the value of items and things that were accessible and rare become more common, okay? And that we get more access to the things that were harder to get. Even the city themes that are in here represent a sort of scenario in which things that were super rare are becoming more available. And I don't think that trend is going to change. Over time, more of the super rare stuff will be more available and new super rare stuff will emerge. So how do we feel about that trend and what's the time horizon over which that happens is sort of a separate matter entirely. It's only a matter of time before we've got, well, legendary gear higher than the level that this gear is. Maybe. How many years is that? I know we did many seasons of KVK Season 3 over and over getting lucky coins. So I don't know. We'll see how fast this stuff changes, but I want to make this video right away to share with you this big change, because if you are in KVK Seasons 1 through 3, get that freaking dagger, and if you migrated back and you already had one, GG, pun not intended, with the Greatest Glory, because, like, I've got that on my restart, and I'm pretty pumped to use it. If you have any other thoughts, let me know down below in the comments on the significance of this change and what it represents for your kind of investments in the game moving forward for equipment. And until next time, you have fun, smashing your enemies, and be on the lookout for a bunch of other videos coming out later today.